Perfect. Alrighty. Happy Sunday, everyone. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a quick trade recap over the week. Just kind of go over what I did well and what the markets had brought to my attention that I need work on and figure out what to improve on for the next coming week. So this was the third week of July, third or fourth week of July. So we're gonna be wrapping up July this week. So let's go ahead and figure out what we can work on so that we can finish out the week strong. All right, so starting off, I took my very first trade on Monday. It was, it ended up resulting in a pretty decent lesson. So I'm just gonna go over my thought process and why I was looking to take the trade that I did. So starting off on the 4 hour. 4 hour, we had a nice type 3 bearish close. I was looking for some sort of retracement for a continuation lower. I think something that is pretty key, and I think just based off of my previous data that has shown what has shown to happen quite often is that every time we have a strong move down, always look for price to just retrace at least 50% of that move. Retracing 50% of that move gives a higher probability of your direction playing out rather than taking it below a 50% retracement. And that's just something that I've been seeing occur over and over again. So that being said, 4 hour had a pretty nice bearish type 2 close, right? We saw price close below this level. So what I was initially looking for on the higher time frame was for price to pull back and have a continuation lower. That's for the higher time frame. Lower time frame, we did have the previous hour type 2 close as well. So I was just looking for a pullback into these key levels and have a continuation lower. 30-minute, same story. We actually end up having a, yeah, 30-minute bearish close at the time. Ignore this previous candle, but at the time that I took the trade, it was within this first 30-minute interval. 15-minute also had a bearish close. I was looking for price to essentially show a rejection off of one of these levels and have a continuation lower. So we had a 15-minute type 1 close, in which I did align it with 1 minute shifting bearish. However, I'm kind of taking a look back now. Yes, we did have a 5-minute type 1 close as well, but this is kind of showing price creating internal structure. And also just taking a look, this isn't a strong enough pullback to really confirm that sellers want to really continue pushing this lower. Um, I think I could have been a lot more patient and allowed for market structure to develop a little bit more because if I go back to this day and let price play out, we did have a rejection at this key area in which we did see price trade to this level before continuing higher. So my selection for area of interest was lacking a little bit in terms of the quality. I think that this one definitely should have been deemed as lower quality, and I should have actually been looking to play the bullish side of things because of how overextended we were. And we also had pretty ugly looking type 3 shift, but price rejected these lows multiple times before taking out this internal high, I guess you could say. And then this would have been the pullback. But I didn't see that at the time. It is what it is. I definitely think that it was more of me trying to force a trade because I saw how price had created the shift. But if you think about it, the volume on this move was just lacking. And I think that is something that I could have done better at, is just identifying the quality of the shift. Second trade that I take ends up being the next day, and it was a break-even trade. This one was actually more of a higher time frame trade, and what I mean by that is just taking it on the 5 minute. I saw a 5 minute type 3 shift, and I was just looking to play the continuation move of that. We end up getting a nice move to our first target at the 15-minute level that we have created right here. Um, and overall, it was looking like a good trade. However, we did get hit for break even. So this was the shift that I was looking to play. I was looking to see price essentially take out this previous 5 minute high to continue higher. Because in my head, I'm thinking this huge move down. We hit the 50% retracement, we pull back, but then we also hit the 50% retracement of this move to potentially continue higher, and the higher time frame trend was overall bullish. Um, as you can see right here in the hourly, we pulled back into this area of interest, had that shift. The higher time frame was just looking for a reaction. Price ends up reversing and hitting our break even point after we get that huge move. And it is what it is. I think this was overall a pretty good trade. The overall context made sense. But at the end of the day, price did end up dumping and respecting this 50% retracement of this move to continue lower. So it's what it is. So that was trade number two. Trade three, this is where things got a little bit shaky. And it was just this day. I don't want to even say shaky because it's not like I went ballistic, but I didn't like the fact that I felt like I had to take another trade to feel like I did something. And that's kind of the feelings that came about today after this first loss, right? And especially taking a loss or super early into the day, you're just like, hold on, am I doing something wrong? Right. So overall, for some reason, I was definitely feeling a little bit more bullish today because we had just taken out these lows right here. So I was looking for a 50% retracement back into this area of interest, right? However, one thing that I should have respected a little bit more was just the overall structure of the market, right? Yes, we were holding this area. And yes, we had a pretty huge extended move to the downside. But if we take a look at, at the hourly price action, we had a period of time where price had based and then continued lower. I did not hold too much weight on that. I didn't respect those levels that I had marked out right there on the hourly and then also on the 30-minute as well. We had bearish structure right here. And yes, although we did have slightly bullish structure to continue move to the upside, there's also a probable chance of price showing reactions into these areas of interest as well, these levels that I mark out, right? So I think what I should have focused on was, okay, after a reaction to, especially if it's the most recent price action, right? If this is showing bear structure, if price has pulled back into this area, right? You want to hold more weight to this because this is also following the overall trend. So for me, I saw bullish structure here. If you guys take a look here, type 2 close was looking for that pullback for a continuation, right? And then if you take a look at the 1 minute, kind of see the shift, right? But my problem was that when price shifted, it shifted into our bearish levels already, which technically means I should be paying attention to see how price reacts on the bearish side. Because when price pulls back into this bullish area that I essentially was marking, we had already rejected this area, right? And even here, like I got in on this second pullback, not this first pullback. So that just shows that the entry was just more of me trying to force something, in my opinion. That's just what it felt like, like I don't know. Like this trade felt really mediocre. I mean, yeah, I did use my strategy in terms of having that area of interest, but what was the overall context, right? What's the context of the move? Yes, we had the shift, but the shift led in price to trade into bearish territory, bearish areas of interest where I'm looking to see a reaction for a potential sell-off back into these lows, right? And yeah, for me, I think that's like I think if we wanted to see stronger bullish price action, it would have to break above these highs and show confirmations that price wants to continue higher. And I think that just led to me crashing out a little bit and forcing a trade here. It was like it's still a part of the strat, so I don't even want to mark it down as like I was being process based because honestly I wasn't, if I'm being honest with myself. So I broke that today. I had a good streak going, but Friday was just a day where I couldn't control myself. So the thesis was to be bullish on NASDAQ because we saw on the hourly how price was holding above this area of interest. And yes, I know we were at all-time highs already, but my thesis was that we closed above here. I'm looking for retest for a continuation. I was also a little concerned with this area of interest, but at the time I had not paid attention to that because I was just really focused on making the money back, right? But in terms of candle closures in my direction, I had the previous hourly close. I considered this previous candle as the type 2 close because it just shows clear signs of closing above here. Aware that we were closing within this area as well. Oh no, apologies, scratch that. We were on this was the context of my thesis. So yeah, about a type 2 type 2 close here. And then we have the 30-minute. Holy fuck. 30-minute also closed type 2 bullish. In my head, this was higher time frame market structure shift to flip bullish. So I was feeling essentially bullish that day. 15-minute was also looking bullish, closing above those areas of interest, and the 5-minute as well. We were building structure right around here. So I figured that price was showing acceptance at this level, and I ended up just taking it long. It was pretty impulsive, not gonna lie. It was a pretty shit fill. And I had stops above the lows. And then as price had taken out these highs, I adjusted stops, but then ended up closing it for break even because honestly, I was just not in the best emotional state. And I told myself that if this trade went red, I wouldn't feel the best. So I ended up closing it for break even to maintain my mental sanity and my mental capital. Ends up hitting target, so I got the direction right, but at the end of the day, the execution was terrible. And it's definitely something that looking back on, I know the triggers. I was even I would say even during the time of recording, as I was watching it back, I did see myself to be at least in the beginning very self-aware, but then sometimes the subconscious is so strong that it has you making decisions that you shouldn't really be making. So that being said, that is going to be the end of this review. So one thing I would definitely take away to apply and take into consideration next week is, when you take a loss, like take a good breather. Like just walk away for 5, 10 minutes and just allow for yourself to get back to your resting heart rate and back to your normal process-based self. Number two, 50% retracements, really important unless you have structure, like we saw in that second to last trade, where if you see it respect any of the key levels you have, that's your sign to lock in a little bit. And also play out the probabilities, focus on think of each trade as a trade that has a couple obstacles, right? Yes, you get your entry model, you get your strategy, but now what are the obstacles that are stopping the trade from going down to your final targets, right? You have 5-minute gaps, you have 5-minute order blocks, whatever. Anything that you feel could lead to a lower probability of it reaching your price level, always take those into consideration. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall, did a very good job, managed risk. I think overall on Top Step, the combines only down like 4,400 for this week. And then for my personal accounts, I'm only down 600 for the week. So not bad. The risk was managed. So I will catch you guys next week for my final trade review for July. And I'm really looking forward to performing a lot better and being able to show my improvements throughout the week. So we'll catch you guys then.